This is the new 2025 Honda Ridgeline Trailsport. It is the most off-road ready version of Honda's very popular midsize pickup. Today we're going to see how well this truck performs in dirt, gravel, snow, and ice. That's coming up right now on Driving Sports TV. The Honda Ridgeline is a very interesting choice in the midsize truck segment. It has a very flexible 5'4" bed and the ability to tow up to 5,000 pounds or 2,250 kilograms. That's actually only about 500 pounds less than what my Ranger Raptor can tow. But here's the funny thing, this is actually based on the same unibody chassis as the Honda Pilot crossover. That means it has independent suspension on all four corners, making this one of the nicest riding trucks in the segment. But that nice ride comes at a cost. You see, this truck only has 7.6 inches of ground clearance, far less than the competition. In terms of price, it is competitive, but it is far from a bargain. This off-road focused Trailsport trim will set you back $47,230 US, including destination. While most trucks seem to be moving to smaller turbo engines, this Ridgeline is still rolling with Honda's venerable 3.5-liter V6. It makes a peak 280 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. EPA rates economy at 18 miles to the gallon in town and 20 on the highway. The tires are General Grabber Sport all-terrains, wrapped around 18-inch alloy wheels. In terms of packaging, Honda really hit it out of the park. It has a useful bed that actually has a whole storage compartment underneath. Not only can that be locked, it's watertight, and it has a drain plug. So yeah, it can double as a cooler. That's just not something you get on a traditional truck. The second row folds up for lots of in-cab secured cargo. With the seats down, I fit fine. I'm 6'1", legs torso proportionate. I have room for my legs and my head. I also get a fold-down armrest with integrated cup holders. Up front, the amenities are what you would expect from Honda. Comfortable seats with heat and memory settings. A partial digital dash that gives you lots of view options on the left side, and a smallish multimedia touchscreen with XM satellite radio support, in addition to a rear-view camera. It also supports wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. In terms of normal on-road driving, the Ridgeline Trailsport is very comfortable and confident. Thanks to the independent suspension on all four corners and the excellent all-wheel drive system, this drives more like a crossover than a truck. The Ridgeline also has a number of drive modes to modify response in a variety of conditions, and that is what we're going to focus on today. Included are mud, sand, and snow settings. To put all these off-road settings to the test, we're going to use our two off-road test courses. One is in the foothill of the Cascade Mountains. It is currently freezing, covered in snow and ice. But we're going to get started right here at our Peninsula Proving Grounds. Here we have a number of forest-style trails, plus an area to test how well we can slide this thing. So, without further ado, let's get started. We have a lot to cover today, so we're just gonna get right into it. So for this first section, this is actually a very easy portion of the trail. I am just going to use normal because all the other modes kind of increase wheel spin to let you kind of churn through difficult objects. And in this section, I really want to see more power transfer than I do want to see wheel spin. So let's see how this does. Now, I'm gonna say it a lot in this episode, so you have to forgive me, but 7.6 inches of ground clearance is just not a lot. I mean, you think about it, the standard Subaru ground clearance on a non-wilderness model is 8.7 inches. So yeah, Honda, what you doing with the Trailsport having so little ground clearance? One thing I do like, oh, I don't like that little parking alert. Let's turn that off. One thing that is interesting here is with this transmission, it's a 9-speed automatic. It has a really good crawl ratio, 1 to 20 in first gear, which is great. If I go to sport and then go to 1, it'll let me lock it into first gear. Tabs on everything. Now there is no camera system here, so I have to use my eyeballs to see what the heck is going on. We're gonna get a lot of tilt here. Now this truck I know doesn't have a lot of articulation, so we're always going to be picking wheels up, and that's not something you really want to do when you're going off-road. Even though it looks cool, you really want to keep all 4 wheels planted on the ground. This truck doesn't do that very well. Add a little throttle. We should see some wheel spin here as it's trying to shift power around. Now this doesn't rely on brake vectoring like a lot of other vehicles. This one instead will shift power proactively using its IVTM4 all-wheel drive system, which is cool. Now I could of course just thrust through here, but that's not the point. I want to see the system shift power, and it does a good job, gets us through. Now we're going to dip down, got to watch for that branch on the inside. Try to get as far into the hole as I can. There's a tip. Again, picking those wheels up, not what you want. So then we try to climb out. A little bit of work, but gets the job done. Okay, well now let's explore some of the other modes on appropriate surfaces. So that was normal, and normal works pretty good in day-to-day activities. If you're going up to a normal trailhead, that'll be fine. Next, let's bump over to mud. So I have driven a Ridgeline Trailsport up this next trail, but that was about a year ago, and at the time it was dry. Also, we've kind of tweaked the trails a little bit, so this is going to be a very different experience, especially because the entry is now a little bit muddy and slick because it rained a couple days ago, and it's been very moist out. So let's see how this does. And what mud will do, it'll allow additional wheel spin to help clear the lugs, to help get grip in difficult situations. It's basically reducing traction control, which is important in situations like this. There we go. No problem. Oh. Okay, let's see how well this lifts tires. Not like we want to lift them, but now that we're in mud mode, you should see a little bit more wheel spin when the tires don't have any grip. Before that power transfers. Yep, there we go. Whoa, my gosh, this thing has no articulation. It's kind of crazy. Okay, well, let's do the final little bit over here. Next, we have the sand slide crossing. Usually I do this with vehicles that have more ground clearance, but since this is a trail sport, I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to go ahead and keep it in the mud setting. We'll see how this does, because it's a little muddy here. Of course, articulation is also going to be a problem. And clearances possibly. Go into the hole. Oh. There we go. Now I'm just going super slow because I don't want to crash down on anything. You can see those wheels spinning. And then the IVTM4 system is also supported by brake vectoring. So not only can it shift power using gearing, it also shifts power using brakes. So it's a very comprehensive system. Right. Well, there we go. Easy. So yeah, overall, if you can clear the obstacle, you can usually get through it with this trail sport. Can we get through it here though? Come on. Now we still have mud mode on, so we're still getting excess wheel spin, which is fine. That'll get us through this. If we don't drag that rear bumper. No, we're good. Okay. Nice. Okay, well, that's normal and mud modes, but we're not done yet. We got 2 more modes to play with. For our next drive mode, we have the most extreme in terms of fun. It's sand mode. Now with sand, you need to constantly be paddling through the sand and you can't cut traction. The moment you do, you kind of get stuck. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any soft, fluffy sand because it's just too wet here right now, this time of year. But the benefit of a sand mode is you can also use it to get a little sideways. It also keeps the revs high, so you're right in your power band. Now this is Honda, keep in mind, so they're not gonna let you get too sideways. But let me just show you what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna be in sport mode, I'm gonna be in sand mode. Let's do it. You can flick it and then throttle. get a little bit of wheel spin, you can get a little bit of sideways, but then traction control cuts in, which is, you know, typically Honda. So it's not like, obviously, my Raptor, which I can just fling sideways. This one, you can get it a little bit sideways with a little throttle oversteer, but yeah, it puts an end to that fun the moment you start to kick out. But for its intent, it will keep the wheels spinning in soft surfaces, which is what, you know, the real point of sand mode is. Throttle! Can't come in too hot because the suspension won't handle a heavy impact. But it's fun. You can have fun with it. Let's see if we can try to trick it with a little Scandinavian flick. Woo! Because of the traction control, you have to manhandle the wheel a lot more. You can't just use braking and throttle to kind of create the upset. So obviously this wouldn't make a really good rally car, no. So it's competent in normal, it's pretty good in mud. Sand probably works if you actually have nice soft sand. Does provide a little extra fun if you want it. So now let's test out the snow mode. And for that, we're gonna need some snow. Well, luckily, we have another off-road course in the foothills of the Cascade Mountains. So the current temperature right now is 27 degrees. We've had a lot of snow, we've had a lot of thaw, and so that makes for not balls of snow, instead it's balls of ice. So far we're doing okay here, but I think what we really need to do before we start this next climb is to get out, check the conditions, and also check out the tires that come standard on this truck. Because this truck is as you get it from the dealer right now. There are no modifications, which means no chains, no snow tires. All right, here we go. Woo-hoo. Let's see what we got. Everything that's been compacted has turned to ice. And even these, what appear to be big snowballs, are also ice. So forget snow and ice today, it's all about ice. And it's 27 degrees right now, but as it warms up throughout this video, things are gonna get even more slick. So that's gonna be fun. Now let's look at the tires on this. They're General Grabber Sports. The ones on this truck do not come 3-peak rated. They do have some siping. They are M+S, but I expect that they're gonna be mediocre performance at the very best. So the big question is, why don't we test with snow tires? Manufacturers do not allow us to change the tires on the trucks or SUVs or whatever. We basically have to test these as they come from the dealer. Now, there are a few exceptions. If we buy a vehicle, we can of course change the tires. Sometimes I can also coax the manufacturer into letting us change the tires, but that's typically only on long-term loans. For these standard loans, cannot change the tires. I could put chains on them, but frankly, anything can get through anything if it has chains. That's no test at all. Oh, look at this. Ugh. Yeah, let's move that out of the way there. Great. Let's do this. So we of course have many different drive modes available on this Trailsport. I think snow makes a lot of sense. What that's gonna really do is kind of reduce power on throttling so that we don't spin the wheels on the ice and try to maintain some grip. It'll also optimize the iVTM4 all-wheel drive system. I'm just gonna keep a slow and steady pace. Now, one thing I do like about this 9-speed transmission is that it does give me a 20-to-1 crawl ratio, which is pretty good. Just gonna keep some momentum here. We're just gonna ease up it. I feel like if we just stay on the tracks, keep 4 miles an hour, this seems to be a good pace. The wheels feel like they're on the edge of spinning. Oh, we're doing it. We are right on the edge of grip. I can just feel these wheels wanting to spin. There's the 7.6 inches of ground clearance. Oh, right here, we're gonna start, I think, grinding a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, a little grinding there. Oh, and I think we're gonna make it up. Oh, come on. You got this. Add a little extra throttle. Are we gonna do it? Oh, yeah. Started struggling right at the end there. I can't believe we actually made it in. Nicely done, Ridgeline. But now let's see if we can go up the main line to the top here. I don't know, I'm a little concerned about trenching that's left over from the last vehicle we took up here. That's not soft, puffy snow. That is ice. So the strategy here is really don't destroy the underside of the truck. If you take a look on the underside, you'll see there's not really that much underbody protection. There's a little thing over the oil pan. One thing I'm really concerned with is the exhaust can. It really hangs down low, and I'm kind of afraid we're gonna bump it off. So just gotta be extra careful today. The first attempt here is really just to see if we can make it up. I don't know if we can. Clearances are gonna be a problem. So let's see. We're just listening to see if we can even get up here. So the tire pressures are all at 35-ish right now, which is factory stock. It's how it was delivered to me. Now here I have a couple different options. I can either try to drive in the ruts, but I don't have enough clearance for that center because those ruts were created by a Ford Ranger Raptor. Come on, up. Haven't even made it up to the ruts yet. Let's back up a little bit. So ideally we're gonna like tap dance on top of this slush and not fall all the way in. A little bump there. Oh, okay. Whew. Yeah, we have to stay on the compressed stuff. The other stuff is just too deep, I am afraid. Whoa. Let it roll a little bit, not a good call. Let's see, can we stay on? Oh. Are we gonna get it? Need to stay just on the corner of the center line. Need to keep the wheels spinning. It's moving us ahead. Oh, are we gonna do this? If we slide over, we could high center. Don't want to do that. So I'm just taking this really, The soft snow started to pull me off. And once we go into that soft stuff, we are doomed. So let's go here. Let's try to keep it a little bit more hard right through here. Oh, let's not go all the way off the ridge. Oh, are we gonna do this? Okay, now we have an issue of a shrub in the way. Just trying to shove this stuff over so to scratch the paint. Now we're still in snow mode. Gonna just try to creep. Yes. Okay. Made it up. Now we're gonna turn it around and see if we can make it down. So you might be wondering, why am I not doing a wheel spinning full speed attempt on this? And it's simply because I know if I fall into that inside rut, this truck is gonna be high centered and I'm gonna have to chip ice out from underneath. Don't wanna do that. I have fun when I know there's margin for error, and there really isn't right now. Now I want to see if we can get all the way up to Grandma's house, which is the side road over here. Now the challenge with this next trail is going to be ground clearance. Yet again, it's a huge issue on this truck. I'm hoping that with all the thaw freeze cycles we've had, that the center line has probably lowered enough that it's not just going to grind the underside. Obviously I don't want to damage this truck, so we're not going to just, go full abandon, full throttle into ice. There's no sense in doing that. Now it is interesting that the Honda Pilot for 2025 is more advanced than this truck is in off-road. They basically created Trailsport trims, put it into the Ridgeline, the Passport, and the Pilot, and then they updated the Pilot to have the most advanced version, and they're slowly now rolling that out to the Passport later this year, and then to the Ridgeline presumably in 1 or 2 years. To give you a better idea on how this iVTM4 system distributes power, I think I want to try mud mode, because this actually reduces traction control, which means you should see power shifting a little bit more than if the brakes intervened early. Let's go ahead, I'm just going to mash the throttle and let's see what it does. Really nice. Yeah, no problem with control at all. This traction control actually, yeah, it's doing its job. Okay, well now let's try one final test. We're gonna go up a steep hill. Now, we don't have a name for this hill. If you have a suggestion, please post in the comments below. But this is the same hill that basically ate the Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro just a couple days ago. But I'm curious if we can actually run its line because of enough melt off, but I'm hearing a lot of grinding here. Oh, yeah, let's take a look and see just how much grinding we have here. Is this just a little surface layer, or are we actually moving stuff around under the truck here? This could cause some pain to this Ridgeline, so we're not going to break anything today. But I think we learned what we needed to learn. I really like this Ridgeline. Sure, it's more of an SUV with a truck bed than an actual truck, but that's what makes it unique and special. Not everyone wants a Toyota Tacoma or a Nissan Frontier, and I love how Honda has packaged both the interior and the truck bed. This is a smart and fun truck to drive within its limits, and its limits are about that big. I ask you, Honda, in the next revision of the Ridgeline Trailsport, please give it at least 9 inches of ground clearance. It would go so far to making this truck way more capable. So what do you think? What does Honda need to do to make the Ridgeline interesting to you, the viewer? Post a comment below. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you again right here real soon. And hit that subscribe button.